So the watch we have in front of us today, the Glashutte Senator Chronograph, is the biggest proof that this watch collecting hobby really doesn't make any sense. The watch I have in front of me today, after handling the Daytona for example, and then this watch, for the price point, this watch is absolutely insane. In fact, the quality of the finishing of this watch, the movement, the amount of complications, everything about this watch, even that beautiful dial, just dwarfs the Rolex Daytona. I don't hate Rolex by any means, I have the Submariner, but the price point of this watch is actually kind of insane. But guys, first of all, I would like to thank Exquisite Timepieces for supplying this watch. And I wanted to let you guys know that if you want any Glashutte watch, make sure you hit up exquisitetimepieces.com. Let them know that you heard about them from this channel and they'll hook you up over there at Exquisite Timepieces. But guys, my name is AB, I run the Watch Collecting Tribe Productions, and in today's episode, I'm going to be sharing with you guys the Glashutte Senator Chronograph. I'm going to be giving you guys the full specifications and the full review. Of course, there's a few things I don't like about the watch. I'm going to be mentioning that today in this episode, but overall, I think you guys are really going to like this piece. Undervalued is an understatement for a brand like Glashutte. Judging by our previous review of their first watch, the CQ, many were absolutely amazed by the watch, but they haven't heard of the brand. That said, it's clear that the brand has poor marketing, but trust me when I say this brand makes watches double its price look like a Timex in comparison. Now the brand provides high horology pieces at Rolex prices, and even sometimes more affordable than Rolex's offerings. This piece, alongside the Panamanic Luna for example, which we will see in the next episode, is proof that you can get exceptional high horology pieces without having to sell an organ to attain one. Now before we get into the piece, it's important to point out a few things for those who are first learning about Glashutte as a brand. I won't bore you with an in-depth history lesson, but here's what you need to know. Glashutte Original is a German brand based out of the city of, well, you guessed it, Glashutte. Now Glashutte is the same city you'll find famous brands like A. Lange & Söhne or Nomos for example, and many others. It's the horological capital of Germany, and the brand produces high horology watches for relatively fair prices, and to add icing to the cake, everything in this watch and every other Glashutte watch is actually made all in-house. Now what we have in front of us today is the Glashutte Senator Flyback Chronograph with approximately 70 hours of power reserve, an absolutely insane value-packed chronograph for its price point. Now the first thing you notice when picking up the watch is the beautiful matte white dial. Glashutte calls this newspaper white, which I tend to agree with that statement. The dial is a very simple white dial with that newspaper kind of look to it and contrasting black markers. Now the dial has so much to show, yet Glashutte managed to make everything extremely balanced and relaxing to look at. Keep in mind, when creating a watch this complicated, it's an extremely hard task to keep everything symmetrical. But as we know with German watchmakers, they know how to make a simple watch eye-catching, and they also know how to make a complicated watch look simple. Let's talk about the technical aspects of this piece because this is what really makes this watch shine. So what exactly do you get with this watch? Why am I saying it's such a special chronograph? And why am I saying it's so undervalued at its price point? Well, for starters, you get everything you get from any chronograph, but in the famous words of John Mayer, look closer and then look closer still. At the 9 o'clock position, you'll realize a very small crescent shape indicator that is actually Glashutte's innovative power reserve indicator. Never in my life as an enthusiast have I ever seen such a subtle application of a power reserve complication. It might be small and many might kind of not see why I'm geeking out over something so tiny that if you blink you could probably miss it. Well, just Google power reserve indicators and you'll see that most brands that have power reserves tend to be very distracting and the complication is almost never done in a subtle way. But with Glashutte's very subtle way of putting it in the 9 o'clock position, if you don't look closely, you probably won't even notice that it's there, but they added it anyway. Knowing that you have 70 hours of power reserve, you probably won't be looking at it too much if this is your daily wear, but the way they did it is absolutely perfect in my opinion. Now, that isn't all the Caliber 37 offers. The next thing you notice is the iconic big date at the 6 o'clock position. If you know anything about Glashutte, you will know that that is iconic to German design and to the brand. Interesting thing about the date is that it's actually executed better than Alanganzuna's big date function. Now, while Glashutte has the date function with both numerals on one plane, Lange actually has one above the other with a date divider, which technically makes Glashutte's way of making it a lot better than Alanganzuna, even though it is double the price. Should that matter to you? Probably not, but it is executed better, so it's something interesting to note. Now, right when you thought we were done, this chronograph is actually a flyback chronograph, which means you don't have to stop the chronograph to reset it. All you need to do is press the bottom pusher and it flies back into position. And for those who don't know, it's actually quite complicated to make a flyback mechanical chronograph, so that adds value to the watch. Now, the watch does have a 42mm case, which typically I would say I prefer a 40mm or under, but in this instance, I actually don't. Having a complicated dial like this means having a larger size is the more logical thing for symmetry and legibility. That said, 42mm is a sweet spot for chronographs, as we see with the Omega Speedmaster Pro for example. That watch is also 42mm. Another thing that assists the wearability of this watch is the down-turning lugs that help the watch sit comfortably on the wrist. That actually shortened the distance of the lug to lug, which made it 48mm. Now finally, the thickness of the watch is 14.9mm, which is probably a deciding factor for you, but given the amount of complications, I think we can give this watch a pass. So far, I've been quite positive about the piece, and for good reason. It's such an incredible watch, especially for the price point. It feels like a $20,000 to $30,000 watch, but it's not. So what would I change about the watch? Well, if they made a 39mm size, I guess that will please a lot of people. But even at this size, 42mm, it actually looks really good on the wrist. So should they make a 39mm version? I think that would be great. But I just feel like the 42 actually makes it look really good, especially with the amount of complications this watch has. If it was a little bit smaller, the dial would feel a little bit crowded. Now when we take a look at this beautiful movement powering this watch, we get Glashutte's Caliber 37, its first in-house integrated automatic column wheel chronograph movement with a flyback functionality. Now this isn't Glashutte's first chronograph movement, but it was the first integrated chronograph caliber. As opposed to just putting a module stuck placed on top of a pre-existing caliber, this is actually Glashutte's first integrated chronograph. Now the caliber has around 450 parts, including 65 joules, a 4 Hz frequency, 70 hours of power reserve, and of course this is a chronograph but with a little bit extra, so you get hours, minutes, small seconds, a 12-hour counter, a 30-minute counter, power reserve, and of course that iconic panorama date, and an overall stunning movement inside this watch. But guys, let us know what you think about it in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you. Do you like it? What don't you like about it? Let me know in the comment section below. Also, I wanted to thank Exquisite Timepieces again for supplying this watch in. I really wanted to let you guys know that if you contact them and you're interested in Glashutte, Omega, Blopa, Brigade, they have a lot of really cool brands. Hit them up at Exquisite Timepieces and they have amazing customer service. I'm not just saying that because of this video, but let them know that you heard about them from Watch Collecting Strategy. They'll hook you up over there at Exquisite Timepieces. Guys, thank you so much for joining me here today. Make sure you're subscribed because I have another really cool Glashutte coming up, so you don't want to miss that one. And guys, I will see you in the next one.